Football is more than just a sport, it sometimes becomes a stage for emotions, pride, and psychological battles. When the 2024 Ballon d'Or was awarded to Rodri, many believed Vinicius Jr was the more deserving name. A significant number of Real Madrid fans felt indignant, and perhaps Vinicius himself shared the sentiment. However, what's noteworthy is that Real Madrid didn't allow this discontent to turn into a spectacle, a tool to target their rivals. They accepted the outcome and continued moving forward, letting their performance on the pitch speak for itself. Yet, Man City acted differently. If Real Madrid had any reason to feel aggrieved by the Ballon d'Or result, Man City had even less justification to involve themselves. But they were the ones who reacted most vehemently. Not only did they celebrate Rodri's individual achievement, they turned it into a blatant campaign to attack Real Madrid. Before the second leg at Etihad Stadium, Man City erected a massive banner behind the goal depicting Rodri holding the Ballon d'Or with the words, "Stop crying. You're hurt out." Everyone understood their intent. It was a message aimed directly at Vinicius Jr and Real Madrid. Instead of focusing on football, Man City opted for psychological warfare, deliberately provoking their opponent. However, there's something Man City seemed to overlook. Real Madrid isn't an ordinary team. They aren't swayed by cheap provocations. They don't need to step on Man City's logo to prove anything. They didn't need to lower themselves to respond because they understand that class isn't demonstrated through words, but through actions on the pitch. The way the two teams behaved before the match revealed a stark difference in class. Real Madrid arrived at the Etihad with composure and professionalism. Not a single player displayed hostility. No one stepped on Man City's logo as a provocative gesture. They simply didn't need to. In contrast, Man City seemed unable to contain their bitterness. Despite winning the Champions League, despite having a powerful squad, they still felt the need to prove something to Real Madrid. But instead of doing so through their football, they chose to taunt and provoke their opponent with a banner. But did that actually give them an advantage? Or did it put them in a difficult position? Man City celebrated prematurely. Manchester City is not only a strong team, but they are also known for celebrating a bit too early. And this time was no different. Before the match even started, they believed victory was in their grasp. They didn't just put up the banner to provoke Vinicius, they spread it across social media, turning the event into a collective gloat. They thought they had victory in hand, that Real Madrid would be shaken by their psychological games. They believed Vinicius would lose his composure upon seeing the banner, that Real Madrid players would be distracted, drawn into the invisible war of words Man City deliberately created. But the problem is, when you think you're controlling someone's psychology, you might be the one being manipulated. Vinicius didn't react. No annoyed glances, no retorts, no actions indicated he was affected. He stepped onto the pitch with a calm demeanor and a confident smile. Meanwhile, Rodri was taking pictures with his phone like an excited fan. But perhaps he forgot that football isn't decided by pictures on social media, but by what happens during the 90 minutes on the field. Man City was overconfident. They forgot that their opponent wasn't an ordinary team. They weren't facing a team without Champions League experience. They were facing Real Madrid, the greatest team in the tournament's history. Before the match, Man City fans were jubilant. They believed their banner was the perfect psychological blow. But football is a cruel game. When you think you have everything under control, you might be setting yourself up for a trap. Because when the ball starts rolling, only one thing decides the outcome: true class on the pitch. The ending for the arrogant. Man City thought they could control the game. They thought they could teach Real Madrid a lesson in dominance. They thought they could mock Vinicius, taunt Real Madrid, and then laugh in their faces after 90 minutes. But perhaps Man City forgot one crucial thing. This is the Champions League, and they were facing the kings of this tournament. The score was 2-1 at the 80th minute. And the Etihad was about to explode when Erling Haaland blasted the ball past Courtois from the penalty spot. The Man City crowd roared. The banner of Rodri and the Ballon d'Or was raised again proudly. They believed this was their night. The night Man City would eliminate Real Madrid and move closer to the silver trophy. They didn't just want to win, they wanted to crush their opponent, to assert that they were the #1 force in European football. But the problem was they forgot who was standing on the other side of the pitch. Real Madrid didn't panic. They didn't play recklessly. They didn't collapse on the pitch in worry. They remained calm, like veterans. Those who had been through so many matches like this to know that the last 10 minutes were their time. And then, the unbelievable happened. In the 86th minute, after the ball deflected off Vinicius's shot, the score was tied. Man City was stunned. Before they could comprehend what was happening, true tragedy struck. In the 92nd minute, during a quick counterattack, Vinicius dispossessed Rico Lewis just outside the Man City box after a rather inviting pass from Kovacic. A delicate chip sent the ball over Ederson's head. It might have gone wide, but Jude Bellingham rushed in to score into the empty net. 3-2 to Real Madrid, and the Etihad was silenced. The most painful part? Vinicius was the one who assisted the decisive goal. The banner Man City displayed to mock Vinicius now stood as a prophecy of their own downfall. They thought they would distract Vinicius, but they were the ones who lost focus in the final minutes. They thought they would revel in Real Madrid's demise, but they were the ones left standing amidst their own ruins. Man City had written the perfect script for Real Madrid, a bitter comeback right at the Etihad. More than that, they turned their own trolling into a farce. Erling Haaland once told Arsenal to stay humble. Don't celebrate prematurely. Don't be arrogant when you haven't achieved anything. But it seems Man City were the ones who needed to revisit this lesson. They erected that huge banner, thinking it would be a powerful declaration of war. But in the end, Real Madrid didn't need to say a word. They let their football speak. And their answer was a 3-2 victory right on the Etihad pitch. They wanted to provoke Vinicius. But Vinicius was the one who indirectly sent them packing. They presented themselves as the number one team in Europe. But they were eliminated by the 15-time Champions League winners. They wanted to lecture Real Madrid, but they were the ones taught a costly lesson. The way Man City lost wasn't just an ordinary defeat, it was a humiliation. A direct consequence of their arrogance. The final minutes of the match played out like a slow-motion film, where they watched their victory slip away. And Real Madrid had the last laugh. Pep Guardiola entered the press conference with his head down, saying only, "I don't want to see any banners." Well, he might not have seen the banner, but he certainly saw the 3-2 score on the board. And he certainly saw the silenced Etihad after being tormented by Real Madrid once again. Man City should have remembered that the Champions League isn't a place for premature celebrations. And if there's one team they should be humble before, it's Real Madrid. Man City might be a force in the Premier League. They might crush every team in England. They might win the treble. But they can't change one fact: the Champions League isn't their stage yet. When comparing Man City and Real Madrid, the difference isn't just in the number of trophies but also in how they approach the game. Real Madrid doesn't need to taunt opponents on social media. Real Madrid doesn't need to erect mocking banners. Real Madrid doesn't need to prove anything off the pitch. They just need football. And every time they step onto that field, they prove they are the kings of the Champions League. Vinicius Jr, a young player, a rising star, has more Champions League titles than Man City as a club. Jude Bellingham, a midfielder in his first Champions League season with Real Madrid, has already created a more memorable moment than anything Man City has achieved in their entire history. Real Madrid didn't just beat Man City on the pitch. They beat them in their conduct, their class, and their composure. Man City thought they could teach Real Madrid a lesson. But it turned out they were the ones who needed to go back to school. Football isn't a place for those who like to act tough. It's for teams that know how to fight until the final whistle. And if any club understands that, it's Real Madrid. So, stay humble, Man City. And if you want to learn how to be a true champion, look to Real Madrid.
Stay, don't you go. You make my every cell flow, my every breath slow and go. Yeah, that's how you make me feel I'm yours. You